Welcome to episode 14 of the Jacksonville Momcast. Today, our guest is Jenessa Smith, a Jacksonville mom and the owner of Pretty Pretty Party. In this episode, we chat with Jenessa about what it's like to start a new business in the middle of a pandemic and how her ability to adapt and stay tuned in to what her customers want has helped make her new venture a success. Thanks for listening. Welcome to the Jacksonville Momcast, a podcast dedicated to real stories for real parents. Each episode, we'll chat with local Jacksonville moms and cover topics to help you navigate mom life on the First Coast. Thanks for joining us as we tackle all things motherhood and more with a focus on the 904. Today we have Jenessa Smith. Jenessa is a Jacksonville mom and the founder of Pretty Pretty Party. So Jenessa, how about you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and your family?
Okay. So I'm a stay-at-home mom by trade, if you want to call it that. I have 4 kids. I have an 8-year-old. So I have 3 girls. They're the older ones. And then my 4th is a boy. So I have an 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and then my son will be 2 in August. So, most of my days is being a mom. And then I, do balloons on the side, I like to call it, even though it's kind of in the middle and throughout and all day, every day.
So tell us a little bit about your balloon business, Pretty Pretty Party.
So I do party and event balloon decor. So that means, everybody has seen the Pinterest-worthy balloon garlands and, balloon little creations with the, the stands and the columns and all those things. And so I kind of take that to the next level and put a creative and artistic spin on it. It's not, what you're going to get when you go get a balloon arch at Party City. It's a little bit more intricate. Everything I do is custom. So everything is created for the customer, for what they're looking for the space that it's going. I always try to figure out where they're planning on putting the balloons. So that way I can, recommend a particular size of a garland or a particular shape. So I really work with each person to figure out what's going to fit best for their needs and their event. And then I kind of create with that from there and make it a totally unique experience.
And I absolutely recommend everybody go check out your Instagram feed because it's just beautiful. There's just such beautiful creations that you've done.
Thank you.
So how long has Pretty Pretty Party been around? And what exactly made you decide to focus on party decor and specifically balloon displays?
So it's kind of funny. I started my business during COVID. It doesn't seem like you'd want to start a party business when everybody can't get together. But as a mom of 4, I noticed everybody was canceling their kids' birthdays. And I'm a huge party person. I've always been into parties. In college, my roommates and I would throw parties and we'd, have like hors d'oeuvres and, not your standard type party. I've always been into it when all my kids' parties are huge and above and over the top. And so when I saw all these people were canceling their kids' parties, I'm like, your kids are only young once, birthday parties is like the highlight other than, the holidays for a kid. So I kind of took my experience and passion and started doing the drive-through parties where you put up a table and I have backdrop stands and backdrop curtains and set it up in the driveways. And so people could have, their friends' kids drive by and do presents and goodie bags that way. Cause I just felt so bad for kids. They were already sacrificing so much. So I kind of started that way. And I was, in the beginning doing a lot more. I was doing more of the backdrops and the tables and the whole setup to make it easy for those parties. But as, life started to kind of calm down, I started just focusing on the balloons. It seemed to be what people wanted anyways. It seems, nowadays you can get anything on Amazon and there's all kinds of backdrops. And so people, were kind of supplying those things already, but wanted a balloon garland. They had, either in the past attempted one or were looking at them and like, there's no way I can handle that. So I kind of pivoted and focused on the balloons because it was the demand, if you will. I focused on the demand. So that's where that came from.
That is such an interesting story about
first of all, COVID has been so interesting when it comes to doing these interviews because there's so many moms that have either pivoted or started or, just totally changed direction. And so that's been so interesting to talk to people. But I think you're probably the first that's just started from scratch in the middle of a pandemic. So good for you.
Yeah. I mean, you got to do, it's also one of those things where my kids are now at the age, my son's almost 2, so I'm definitely out of the infant stage. It's something that, I've always really enjoyed doing parties and, helping friends and all that kind of stuff. So it was something that I definitely had, knowledge in my pocket of, obviously not professional knowledge and nothing I had done professionally, but, I kind of saw an opening, and it started out where I'm part of a mom's group, and it started out being like, hey, does anybody need help putting a party together for their kids? And it kind of just grew from there. And it was definitely a window I wasn't sure was open, but I decided to try anyways.
Good for you. So now that, like you said, things are kind of starting to opening up, starting to return to normal-ish. Besides birthday parties, what other types of events do you design for?
So I do stuff for businesses. I just did one a couple weeks ago for a blow dry bar in Jacksonville. They're like a hair, they don't do cuts, they just do styles. And they were having a VIP event, if you will. And they wanted me to come in and decorate for this event. They hadn't had an event because of COVID, so they were kind of excited to get back into the swing of things. And so I came in, and it's decor, but it's not decor in the way of like plates and napkins and streamers. It adds a big wow. It's a place a lot of people, I would say 90% of the times that I'm doing a balloon, it's because people want it as a photo drop, a photo booth, a backdrop, a place to take pictures and create, again, that Pinterest worthy photo op. So yeah, the businesses, that's what I do for the businesses is, kind of, theirs are obviously generally on a larger scale because they have a bigger space than, the average birthday party. With it being graduation season, I have done some at restaurants. So people who've rented out space at restaurants. So I'll, come in and kind of decorate the event space rather than them having to come in and spend a ton of time before their event. A lot of people have it on, like one of the ones I did was for a graduation, and they were actually at graduation. And so they showed up after graduation to their event at a restaurant, and everything was all taken care of. And, the balloons, because they're so large, they make a huge impact without having to do a lot of other stuff for the party. You don't have to worry about, table toppers and, coordinating plates and napkins and putting other things. It kind of makes a statement you're looking for in one bang. So
that's nice. Yeah. And especially, I think it's so great that as a mom, you've kind of figured out how to help other moms, because I guarantee you coming back from that graduation, it would have been the mom that had to go ahead, like run from the thing,
absolutely,
make sure everything was set up. I mean, I think most of us, anybody with kids can relate to that situation. Absolutely. So I think that's awesome. So you started during COVID. Talk to me a little bit about what it was like starting a business in the middle of a pandemic. I mean, obviously in the beginning, there were a lot more safety measures than what we're dealing with right now, and a lot of unknown.
Yeah.
How did that impact like your decisions and just overall? I mean, it just sounds like a really challenging time.
There was a learning curve for sure. I remember the first party I did was outdoors in August, and it was so hot, and balloons don't perform the same outside as they do inside. Outside they get softer, and so they kind of, if they stick to things different, they kind of move different. They're not as solid. So things, they lose shape. There's wind, there's weather, there's sun, there's hot. So, you attach it to something, and then one gust of wind comes from a different direction and it unhooks it from what I had attached it to. Or, I get to an outdoor event and there's nowhere to attach it to on a wall because it's a brick wall and you can't, do much with the brick, things like that. So there was a learning curve at the beginning because everything I was doing at the beginning was outside. We were really conservative on the COVID front. We hung out with my 80-year-old grandparents. And so I wasn't comfortable going into people's homes, and it was easier to just say everything's outdoor than have the conversation about going indoors. So there was definitely some like adjusting. I remember I did another one where it was a guy surprising his wife for her birthday. And it was actually really funny. I thought he was kidding when he told me. I was like, so what is she into? I thought he was going to say pinks and flowers. And he said she's really into the colors green and orange, and her college. And I was like, okay. And I asked what the college was, and it's actually FAMU here in Florida, and their mascot's a rattlesnake. And I was like, is he kidding? Like, I need to come up with a girly birthday surprise with rattlesnakes, green and orange. And I wasn't going to go in his house. So I had to come, and I set up this whole table in his driveway for him, and him and a family member carried it inside and kind of transported it inside. But things like that, kind of roll with the punches, figure it out, make it work. And so it definitely was hard in the beginning. A lot in the beginning was birthday parties or drive-by baby showers that were, every mom wants to have that baby shower, and they didn't want to, that's when, especially as a new parent, you get a lot of the stuff that you need for kids as at a baby shower. And so a lot of moms were really struggling to figure out how to still do that and, have that experience. So the majority of the beginning was baby showers and birthday parties. And then as COVID kind of started to settle down, businesses opened, things, shifted a little bit. Then it kind of went indoors. And then once it was indoors, they were still small parties. So people weren't wanting to have this huge giant balloon installation because it's just, us and my parents. We're just having a small thing to have a party to celebrate them. So then it was, smaller things indoors. And then I kind of saw things get back to normal. And then it was, a little bigger because they were having the kids over from the class, or they were at a pool, or, they were able to do a bigger event. So I kind of saw the evolution of how big the parties were to how small the parties were, and kind of shift in that way. But it was definitely staying on my toes and just kind of figuring out what was being requested and trying to fill those requests. And definitely as COVID got less and less, it was less of a request for the whole backdrop scene, because people weren't trying to transform an outdoor space. They were in their house and they were going to be doing other things anyways. So it's definitely gotten around to more of just balloons, which is awesome. The balloons is the fun, artistic, part for me, but they definitely had, I definitely had to kind of adjust to what people were looking for because of COVID. I couldn't put a blanket statement of what I serve. I had to kind of go with what was wanted.
And I think that that's probably why you've been able to come out kind of on the back end and still be successful. I think the one thing we've seen over the last year and a half is that the businesses that are thriving at this point were adaptable. And so that's kudos to you for being able to do that.
Yeah. Just got to, figure it out.
So do you feel like parties are back and the party planning industry is starting to recover? Or do you think we're still kind of in this weird in between period?
I think it's definitely back. I mean, it's hard to say 100% because things are changing so quickly now. I was going to say with the new mask mandates from CDC and things of that nature, things are definitely a whole new ball game. But I definitely think they're back. I think especially here in Florida, where it's definitely been a little bit different. My parents are from Seattle, and it's a wholly different ball game there. But here, I definitely think it's back. I think people are, comfortable going out, getting together, and here we have the luxury, we can leave the doors open. We can make it a little bit more comfortable to be inside, outside. But I definitely think it's come back. I think restaurants, obviously have the capacity. Restaurants are doing parties, which opens up a whole new ball game of venues. And I think there's definitely some still growth to happen, but I would say they're back and people are partying, living it up.
It's good for the people like you that's, your business thrives on that. So
indoors is more comfortable now. They're heading into summer season. I will say that.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I was also going to say, I do think Florida is different because when I think of the way our homes are built, the way restaurants are designed, I feel like Florida just incorporates that outdoor space almost as part of your home. When you think about when you go look at a new house, they're like, oh, here's the living room, but here's your whole outdoor patio where you can put seating and an outdoor kitchen. I just feel like that's just so part of our, lifestyle.
Yeah, definitely outdoor living lifestyle here, which again, totally helps. It gives, the avenue of, the party's outdoors, but we can leave the doors open and we can kind of keep a few things inside scenario. So it's still outdoors, but not totally secluded to the outdoors.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of competition in this industry. I did a little research. What sets you and Pretty Pretty Party apart? Like what makes you,
me?
What makes you you?
There's a couple things. So balloon, it is an artistry, and it's, for example, like even the clowns that do the balloon animals, that is an art. People always ask if I can do that. And I'm like, no, that is not a talent I have. I use those same balloons. Here's a little fun fact. I use those same balloons that a balloon artist used to tie all my balloons together, but I cannot form them into any shapes. It's an artistry. So I think when you look at different companies and people and options, look at the style. You'll see if you go through different styles. And when I see different balloon artists like in the area post, if I see a picture of a restaurant that has a picture of balloons, they've hired someone for balloons, I can almost 9 times out of 10 say which balloon company did that, because I've noticed the different styles. And so, like every artist has their own style, and some people like particular artists and some people don't. It's the same thing. So you kind of, look at what you like, look at the things each person creates and the different things. So for me, I love to add things into the balloons that are more than just balloons. So I like to find, like for a luau themed party, I love to add greenery. I like to add palms and different things, because for me, I just think it takes the balloons to the next level, and it creates like an atmosphere out of the balloons rather than just being a balloon decoration. I think it makes it a whole new visual for your event. For a rainbow, like a unicorn party, we had these clouds hanging from the sky. I had created these balloon clouds, and from the clouds, I had taken hanging crystals that you would get for like your chandelier, and I hung them from the clouds like raindrops, and I've hung them from the rainbows like raindrops, just to kind of give it another element of something to look at rather than just being balloons on the wall. So I like being creative. I did a little boys firefighter party, and I put little paper cutouts of fire in it to make it look like the fire balloons were on fire. So I like trying to be creative and adding another element to the balloons to make them something more than just balloons. And that's my style. I like working with the person and trying to figure out what we can do to customize it for them and their event and their party. And, if it's a kid's party, obviously I try to find something more, like firefighter stuff. Or if it's an adult party, a lot of times for, I'll get a lot of requests for like, oh, it's my mother's birthday, or it's my mother-in-law's birthday and they're turning 50 or 60 or whatever. And so I'll add some really pretty flowers into it, some like, dripping wisteria, to give it that really elegant feminine look with a pink and white balloon, which would normally be, pink and white balloon's beautiful, but once you add the flowers, it totally changes it. And so that's kind of my personal touch. My personal style is I like being able to make it just a touch more personal, and not just, here's your balloons, I put them on your wall, you asked for pink and white, we're set to go. I take it to the next level and try to make it unique.
I think that's a great answer. And now tell me a little bit how, because you talked a little bit about, what sets you apart from other people. Let's talk about the difference between hiring somebody and doing like a DIY kit, because we chatted a little before we started, and I mentioned I had seen, some DIY kits, it seems like everybody's selling them now, Michael's and Target and Walmart. So first talk to me a little bit about what type of balloons you use, and then a little bit about, what's the advantage besides obviously the time commitment. Why would I hire somebody as opposed to attempting to do this myself?
Yeah, absolutely. Huge. And I tell people all the time, you can totally do this yourself. 100%. I don't, other than experience and practice, I don't possess any magic skills that makes it happen, that it can't happen for you. But that being said, it can be painful. And I would say the majority of the people that I talk to who are like, I had no idea people did this for a profession. I'm so glad you do, because I tried it one time and I will never, ever try it again. So the first big difference is I use professional grade balloons. I get my products from a distributor, from a wholesaler. There's a variety of brands that I use, but the biggest difference is the balloons I use are biodegradable. So they're not going to go sit in a landfill. and, junk up the earth. They all are biodegradable. They are so much stronger than your average party store balloon. They are not going to leak air like helium does leak out of any balloon. Helium, that's just the nature of helium. That's why a helium balloon, after about 24 hours, it's going to fall to the ground. That's just how that is. But my garlands are not helium. A lot of people think they are, but I actually just use air. It's an air pump that I fill them up with. So indoors, the balloon garlands will last up to a month. I mean, they're not going to look as amazing and as, fresh as the first day I put them up, but they'll hold their shape. They're going to be there and they will look, like a beautiful thing on your wall for up to a month. So a lot of people, you can only get so many things in on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but I will actually come in and do installs on a Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for a party that weekend, because the balloons are going to hold up and they're going to look great. So they're much stronger. My little guy, the one who's almost 2, when I'm inflating balloons, he comes up and he just grabs fistfuls them with, just pinchers and claws and just really goes at them and they don't pop. He sits on them. I use a variety of different sizes, which is another thing that sets me apart. Is the kits you buy are generally going to come, the good kits are generally going to come with 2, maybe 3 sizes of balloons. You'll notice a good balloon garland has a variety of sizes. And the they're the little ones that you see a lot of times, those are little 5-inch balloons. Then there's your standard size balloon, which is about an 11 or 12-inch size balloon. And then I'll throw in some 17 inches, some 24 inches, and even on some of them, depending on, again, because it's all, made for the space. If it's a balloon garland that is, dripping down and touching the ground, I like to give it a foot to stand on it, if you will. So sometimes I'll use a big 36-inch balloon. So the size variety is going to be a big difference. Those kits aren't going to come with that many. So it's not going to be as multifaceted. It's going to be more one shape. But the kits are great. Another difference between hiring somebody and having me come do what I do and getting a kit is the amount of balloons that come in those kits are not going to achieve the look that I will be providing. Even the kits so Amazon's definitely the worst offender of this. I love Amazon. I have packages every day, so it's nothing against Amazon. But the pictures they show you in the kits that you can buy on Amazon, they must have used 2 to 3 kits to accomplish the picture that they are showing you. And that's just, like if it's a 100 balloon kit, I would probably be using 250, 300 balloons to achieve what, to achieve what you're looking for. The other thing is just experience and, again, the artistry of it. So I will, create something that's not just a balloon strip with balloons in it. The kits all come with, they're called balloon strips. It's basically a piece of, ribboned plastic that has holes in it. And you take the balloon, you tie your balloon, you knot it, and you stick it through the hole. That's going to create a very linear, simple shape for your balloon garland. Whereas I'll take balloons and I create a base. So I take balloons, I tie them into 2s, and then I tie them into a big garland. And then I attach that garland to wherever it's going to be its home for its display. And then I take other balloons and I kind of build on top of it. So like you would build a sandcastle, you have your base and then you start adding, your towers and things. That's what I do with balloons. So it's definitely going to be multifaceted and more elaborate than something that you would do in home. And then the major one is the time investment. So for me, who does this professionally all week long, I have a balloon pump. I blow up 2 balloons at a time, and it still takes me probably 35 to 45 minutes to inflate all the balloons for one balloon garland. And then there's the time to build it. So I would say beginning to end for me, and I am lightning fast at tying and all of these things, it still takes me probably 2.5 to 3 hours per balloon garland. So it's a time investment. So, and then, if you're going to do it yourself, if you don't have a balloon pump, which I would assume most people don't, it's going to take you hours to blow them up and hours to build them. And you're probably going to look at it and say, well, that doesn't look like the pictures. So, it's a pricier investment for your event, but it's worth it because in my opinion, it's the big impact you're looking for. It's a one and done decoration. You don't have to go in and fill in with a bunch of other little things that take up time, and money, hire somebody, have me come in, put it on your wall, take your pictures, and enjoy your day.
And as someone who, I mean, I am like a chronic DIYer, and I have no desire to try to do a balloon garland. So I totally see the value in hiring somebody like you for an event. I look at the thing, it really, to me, is an art. Like, it really, I mean, when you see the professionally done garlands, and when you look, like I said, scroll through your Instagram page, you can tell that those did not come off Amazon. Like, it's just a totally different vibe. So you mentioned the, doing some of the backdrops and the tables at the beginning. Are there any other services you offer through Pretty Pretty Party?
I do have backdrop stands to rent. I would say my most popular one is it is giant. It is a 7-foot gold ring. It's huge. It's beautiful. Balloons on it are stunning. Flowers dripping from the ring I mean, it is just, it gives the balloons somewhere to be if you don't want them on a wall. So I do have backdrops for rental, especially, for those who are having outdoor parties and, need somewhere to put them, or, even behind a table in a big venue, because sometimes big venues, you don't want to put things on the outside of all the walls, because then you have this big dead space in the middle. So I do have backdrop stands to rent that, obviously help create an environment or a feeling or a vibe and all those things. But, I've definitely pared down just to do the balloons and the backdrop stands, because that's what people wanted. People, like I said, people can go on Amazon, they can get a backdrop. So if I bring a backdrop stand, we can put a backdrop on it if you have it. I do have a few curtains and things here and there, but again, there's so much at people's fingertips at such an affordable price that the balloons are really the thing that people don't want to have to take care of. It's a time investment that, you can go on and you can order and you can put something on a wall and that's a quick, thing. But the balloons were the time investment people were willing to pay to have someone else take care of. And I love it. I think it's so fun. And again, I get to be creative and be artistic. And, people probably think I'm crazy when I come do installs sometimes, because I talk to the balloons, because they definitely have a mind of their own. So, I call them my friends, because generally I walk into your party with this giant string of balloons, and then I go outside and I get this huge bag of balloons that also come in with me. And they're just, you put it down and it kind of, because they're air filled, they kind of just float away and have a mind of their own. And so I have to gather up my little friends, I call them, and make them sit where I want them to. But no, I enjoy it. It's something that allows me to not be mom all the time. And I get to kind of do something for me that allows me to use my brain in a different way.
And I think a lot of people can relate to that, for sure. Yeah. In addition to balloons, what are some of your other favorite party planning resources here in Jacksonville that you might recommend for our listeners?
There are some great cake creators. I don't even like to call them bakers, because the things that they make out of cake, I can't bake to save my life. I'm not very good at following directions. I try to take too many liberties. So baking doesn't work for me. So I can't even fathom how they create these things. There's two in particular that I really love. There's one called Bake or Eat Sweets. And then there's another one called For Goodness Cake. And they both just make phenomenal things. Bake or Eat Sweets is more cookies and treats and like those beautiful, like fun boxes of macaroons and chocolates, all those like fun treat type things. And then For Goodness Cake, her stuff is beautiful. She actually made this gorgeous Mother's Day heart for me with flowers and meringues and macaroons just stunning stuff. And then we have a great charcuterie scene here, which, is an awesome addition to parties. You can have them come out and do a table where they take either your counter or your table and they fill it with, meats and cheeses and candies and all kinds of yummy stuff. So one of my favorites that does that is called Let's Cheese Jacksonville. And she is awesome. She's so sweet. She's a hardworking mama too herself. And her stuff is just so yummy. She's always, just trying to find new fun things to spice it up. She doesn't use, it's not going to be the same thing. I order from her all the time. And it's never the same little treats and goodies and accoutrements in her boxes, which is great because you get sick of the same stuff. Nobody wants to eat the same stuff every time. So as far as, a party in a box, if you will, a cake, some charcuterie, and some balloons, and you're done. And you didn't have to do any of it.
I love it. And we've actually had some boxes from Let's Cheese, and they're always
right. They're so wonderful. Yeah. She's awesome.
And we'll put links to all those places you mentioned in our show notes in case anybody wants to do your full party
in a box. Let's Cheese and I have actually talked about doing a party in a box. And, she supplies like a table or something and I do balloons and it's like a one-click wonder kind of scenario. So her and we're always brainstorming some fun party things.
I love that. I love that idea. So anything else you'd like to add before we go?
The only thing I would like to say is, parties are supposed to be fun. So let somebody do it for you. You can be involved in the process. Because for me, I love planning. So be involved in the planning process, but let somebody take care of the hard work. Email me, let me know what you're looking for. We can chat colors. I can send you color palettes. We can do the planning, the fun part of it together. And then day of, let me come do the hard work. Let me come sweat at your party so you can put your makeup on and not ruin your hair and get to look cute. Because I know when I do my own parties, I generally 9 times out of 10 run out of time to do my hair and makeup. And I'm the slobbiest person there, but I'm having a great time. So that's that. But, let me do the hard part. Let your party be a party.
I love it. What a great way to end this segment. Well, thank you so much, Jenessa. And as I mentioned, we'll put links to all the places you mentioned in the show notes, as well as a link to your website in case anybody wants to get in contact with you. And have a great day.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It was really fun to chat.
That's it for today. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Jacksonville Momcast. For more information about what you've just heard, check out our show notes and find us on Instagram at Jacksonville Momcast. If you've enjoyed this episode and know someone who should tune in, please subscribe and share it. We look forward to you joining us on our next episode of Jacksonville Momcast.